Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today we're going to be playing some Jarl, so a little bit of a change of pace from Zen. I'm still kind of working on testing out some Zen things. Mainly, one of the things I'm currently testing is quick dodge flexors and whether that helps in the Aurora matchup. But I didn't feel confident enough to play it in a video today, so I wanted to give it some time on my own. But I wanted to play a different hero, maybe kind of change it up a little bit. And this is our I guess replacement for Zen in case he goes by the time of my PQ. So yeah, so Jarl is basically my backup pick, mainly just because I like his playstyle, and also I don't think he's actually that good right now, just because of MST heroes. But we'll kind of do our best here to kind of make him work. So I've kind of been inspired by I think some of the deck lists that I saw coming out of Brazil. So I saw that there was a deck list that was only on one remembrance, and then kind of a very similar build to this, but I think was running Spinal and some other kind of cute cards. I've kind of tried to modify my list to be a little bit more like that because I did feel like the double remembrance was maybe a little bit redundant from last time. I also want to see if adding hypothermia would be good into Aurora. I know that a lot of her stuff does have conditional go again, so hypothermia seems like a pretty strong one card effect. And then yeah, it's pretty much a similar kind of shell to last time. I think I've maybe upped the blue count a little bit with buckles, but yeah, continuing to play kind of a very similar list. Two pummel also feels just about right. React package feels good. And I think I'm also adding in a snag because the new matchup has just felt abysmal. I'm almost tempted to remove it just to say that matchup is I don't think it's terrible, but it definitely doesn't feel great. So yeah, that's going to be the list for today. We got all of our stuff together, so let's see if we can get some games. All right, so we got a Verdance. So Verdance is I think a little bit of a tougher matchup, but I've kind of figured it out a little bit. It feels like every time I play in Verdance, I get a little bit better at it. So we want to bring in our prevention effects. We want to run a lean 60 here, I think, is the plan. So I want to maybe avoid non-blue cards just because they kind of clunk up the deck a little bit. I think Shelter is semi-reasonable, but I'm not a super big fan. Let's bring in the Hypothermia and Remembrance. These are mostly just for blue pitch, I think. And I think the default 60 here is going to work for us. And then we got the Heart of Ice, we got the Sledge. Let's see how this goes. Heart of Ice has been a really powerful card, by the way. Very big fan. So here we have the option to Arsenal Frozen to death. Is that something we want to do this early? Feels pretty bad. We could also Arsenal Blizzard, but Blizzard's also a terrible Arsenal. So I think we're going to start by activating Heart of Ice and see what they do. Let's get rid of the Blizzard. And we have the two resources floating, so there's not really a reason not to do this. And then we'll play out CYB, play out Fruits, and just get a little bit of life buffer here. And then this also makes it, I guess, a little bit more awkward for them to pitch cards. I guess, if we do activate Heart of Ice, we maybe give them filtering or something. But I think that's probably fine. This hand's quite good. Just get an Oaken Old next turn if we can resolve it. Pretty happy about that. Whether or not we get to keep this hand, though, is a little bit of a debate. But we'll see. They are Insurgent here, which is definitely a little bit scary. So I think I'm going to take the Surgent damage and then just hope they don't have a Mind Warp or something here. Even if they do, it's not the end of the world, though. So we got Fruits in Graveyard, so we're looking to definitely get a couple more combo cards in there. All right, and then coming in with Scar for a Scar, I think I want to just throw the Gauntlets in front of this just so that we can get them into Graveyard as soon as possible is my logic. All right, let's see what the follow-up is. Scar for a Scar, very interesting card that I don't feel like I see in a ton of runes lists. All right, seems like maybe not a great turn for them, but we do have an Oaken Old here, so I'm going to attempt to resolve it. Oaken Old tends to be pretty good at nearly every point in the game, if you can get it off, obviously. It gets a lot better towards, I guess, the end of the game when you're not, I guess, when you're more able to, line it up with, a Crumble or whatever. But definitely pretty good here. Not super thrilled that this Frozen Cadet's in Arsenal, but, maybe we can fish it with Crown if there were a more attack-heavy version of Verdance. Alright, looks like they're going to give us Autumn's Touch here, which I am A-okay with. Autumn's Touch plus a Root Bound, no Decompose. That seems pretty good to me. So I'll put them on a one-card hand here. I imagine they're just going to, maybe just have a random Arsenal or pitch to, Surgeon if they don't want Arsenal. But I think we're pretty okay with this. All right, so our hand is a little bit awkward here. I guess we can, overpitch the Felling here, though. I feel like we want to overpitch and then just send, CNC at them. Notably, this, they can't really play Reactions anyways, so the Heart of Ice is not super valuable here, but I do think that just getting all those cards out of your hand so that we draw into something a little bit better is maybe more impactful. I also, if I'm able to, I do like trying to save CLFs like in the deck and not play them out super early, just so, because I think they're the way you basically win this matchup from what I've understand by playing it. Basically, what you need to do is like disrupt them every turn in the late game, and that's kind of how you win this matchup. All right, it looks like they're going to give us tree here. See what they do. All right, we get a pulsing aether out of them. I think that was a pretty good CNC from us because imagine they have some amount of reacts in hand. All right, this is also a pretty efficient CYB hand, so you can like pay one into Surgeon Aethertide and then count your blessings. All right, looks like we might end up having to pay a little bit more because I do think that blocking out Surgeon here is probably worth it. This Arsenal is kind of biting me a little bit, maybe a little bit too early on the Frozen to Death here, but it is pretty good against getting rid of Plume. But I think we'll just go ahead and pitch here. So let's go ahead and pay, I guess, 2 into this. I guess we'll hold on to the fruits, and then we can use the CNC to like pay for the other 2 here. I imagine they're just passing, and then we can just discard fruits to kind of fuel graveyard here is my thought. Unfortunately, I don't get to send another CNC, but I think that's okay maybe. Tree definitely one of the bigger threats in the matchup, but we'll go ahead and just gain some life here. Kind of want to just basically deny D-react value if I can, because that's like one of the main ways they like decompose. All right, crumble, very, very good here. So we can also remembrance back like CNC if we really want to, although it's probably not super necessary. Can get back like CNC, Oaken Old, and a fruit. It's like maybe okay. I guess it depends on what they do here. Go ahead. We can either pitch the Remembrance here, or we can pitch the Autumn's Touch. I guess which is better. We will probably be able to block a CNC. Maybe saving the Remembrance for later is like kind of fine. I don't think there's anything we're super dying to Remembrance back like right now. Like the Oaken's Old's obviously like pretty okay, but like beyond that, I don't know. Kind of want to just do like a 1-card crumble here. Especially because it's going to deny D-react value if they're sitting on them. They will get to keep this tree around for another turn though, which is definitely unfortunate. So we'll go ahead and pay another 2 here. Just kind of preserve the life total a little bit. All right, and then we'll crumble, putting it on the plume just so we get it out of the way. I think we're going to discard the fruits here just to put it in the graveyard, fuel our decompose for later. Seems pretty good. All right, unfortunately, no Oaken Old and also no ice card. So unfortunately, our choice to Arsenal is frozen to death super early. It's definitely coming back to bite us just a little bit here. But we can find an ice card is like pretty good to get rid of Plume early. I don't even know if like the Verdance is necessarily needed for rampant growth at this point. It feels like it's more so for just like getting back a tree just for tempo a lot of the time. But we do actually have pretty good seeds here. I just now noticed this. Seeds is probably better than anything we're doing here. We'll find another frozen to death at some point. Like we'll find a way to break Plume. Like we don't need to do it right this second, I think. So pay 0 here. Just gonna tank up, and then we can maybe Arsenal the Oaken Old here. See what they want to do. Yellow Twining is a very interesting choice. It's not a card I've necessarily seen in Verdance, but I've also not seen the yellow Autumn's Touch they played earlier. So definitely kind of cool. All right, seems like they're going to go for the first Felling, which we can definitely kind of deal with here. So how do we want to approach this? If we CYB, they basically like get rid of our Oaken Old or whatever. I guess like which would we rather have? Would you rather have the CYB in Arsenal, or would we rather block with Oaken Old? I feel like maybe we're bottoming Oaken Old and then keeping the CYB. Because like having disruption later in the game is better than having it early, is my logic. So let's get rid of the Oaken Old. I think so they're an attack heavy Verdance. I guess the question is, do we want to just throw Gauntlets in front of it to get into graveyard? I feel like we have enough decompose, so maybe that's not necessary. Maybe taking 1 here is like fine. And we're also just kind of being really annoying by keeping a ton of D-reacts in the deck, so it's gonna definitely, I feel like, slow them down if they're trying to reach their pitch stack here. So definitely pretty happy with this. just really have not been giving them much opportunity to decompose, I think is very valuable. All right, Arsenal CYB. And we have our first decompose, which is really nice because we have tons of fodder right now. All right, I think we'll go ahead and pay 1 here because we have the CYB as backup. So let's go ahead and I guess pitch imposing because we already got our first crumble out. So getting another crumble or something is not as necessary. It also kind of keeps up threat density because we can tutor out like CLF if they develop a bunch of potions or whatever. So I think I'm pretty happy with this, and we have the 2 floating for CYB, obviously. And then next turn we can even like if they don't do anything here, we can like sludge and then just like Arsenal pummel. Pretty alright. Alright, is this gonna be Red Fruit's attack or Red Fruit's pitch? Or discard rather. Okay, so it seems like they're going to attack with it. That is a-okay with me. We'll just go ahead and root bound this and get our value there. Tank up, deny some value. Seems pretty good. Again, our plan for this matchup is to basically take it to the very, very late game. And I guess the question is, do we want to get rid of a third Earth card or CNC? CNC is also really valuable in late game, but we probably don't need like 3 of them. Like I think banishing 1 here is maybe fine just to preserve Earth density. Then we'll go ahead and gain 5 on the end step here, presuming no poison or whatever. All right, 45 health against Verdance's 33. They are running scars though, so that definitely is a little bit concerning. Do have Pummel Mangle though, if we can manage to keep this hand though. Definitely depends on what they want to do with their next turn. I think we're gonna just say no blocks on the AB here, take 1. Because if they don't have anything here, like our hand is very, very strong. If they do have like a spell, then we can just like pay into it pretty easily. So we'll see what they got here. All right, plow under is a-okay with me. Still have the backup plan here of just like dominate the mangle with gauntlets or whatever. It's mangle for 10, which is pretty nice. I think we can afford to take 6 here because I do want to just be disrupting them. And then we can also just get to Arsenal CYB, so like we're still kind of in a fine spot. Like our win con here is like very late game fatigue, basically. So we'll go ahead and pitch the gauntlets. And then send in the mangle for 10. Should be annoying to block, but if they're sitting on react, might be a little bit easier depending. Should hopefully get some stuff out of them here though, because like if they have react in Arsenal, react in hands, they cover most of it, I guess. Yeah, we can at least force 2 cards out of them. That's probably still fine. They're basically almost at decompose anyways, so it's probably not the end of the world. They do have the fodder for it, notably. Alright, this looks like they're going to give us Dark Skin, which is actually really nice, because that means we can start getting some Frostbites developed. Very good, and it seems like they do have that React in Arsenal, but fortunately it's not root bound. It's kind of an interesting block. I'm wondering why they opted to give the Bark Skin here. Almost seems like it's maybe safer to just leave the Bark Skin up, because like they can block 3+4. Definitely a very interesting line from them. All right, CYB and Arsenal, we got Seeds. Looking pretty good. Can also theoretically do... Okay, Felling definitely changes his plan. So what do we want to do against Felling? Can also just like block 9 against a Felling. It's kind of fine. Yeah, sure. Kind of fine with just block 9 against Felling. Like these cards we don't really care about all that much. Cards that really don't like do anything on their own necessarily. So let's go ahead and just like save the Seeds for later and just throw some stuff in front of it. No reason, I think, to do much here. They are notably online, which is a little bit scary. Oh, we still have tons of room for this game. Alright, so that's 2 fellings out of the way too, so they only have 1 felling left, and then they have 2 plows presumably as well. Important to keep track of threats, especially in these kind of more grindy matchups. They do have a very decent deck advantage on us, but we do have just like weapon. Ooh, and this is definitely going to potentially blow them out of here. So let's go ahead and just see what would be in response. I guess we'll pitch. What do we want to pitch here? I feel like Winter's Bite is better in the deck for late game if they're trying to set up a combo on us. But we'll see what they do here. I feel like our play is to just throw 6 in front of it, Arsenal the Pummel, pass. Seems fine to me. So that's 4 of the big attack threats out of the way. So we have two fellings out of the way, 2 plowenders out of the way. It's mostly the arcane damage that I'm concerned about in this matchup. Like the trees are definitely bigger threats, so they still have, I think, at least 1 tree left, or two trees left at this point. Frozen to death, notably not great here, but we do have CNC pummel if we're able to get that off. Could definitely be good. We are slightly running out of pummel targets at this point. We've seen Mangle, Oaken Old, CNC. We still got a decent amount of pummel targets, so I think 2 pummels is just about right. 3 felt a little bit excessive. Okay, it looks like they're going to go for the tree here. So notably, our opponent is on Mind Warp. Does that change our blocks? I feel like we are incentivized to block out against tree. So let's go ahead and pitch here. Let's go ahead and pitch like Pecathermia. If they don't do anything here, or if they do something that we don't care about, then I think it's fine, because we can still just CNC pummel. Which, as I've heard, is a pretty good combo. Yeah, but first healing potion is pretty good, but I'm also kind of just glad they didn't have a follow-up with the Surge and Aethertide. Alright, go ahead and send the pummel here, which should force 2 cards out of them. Take 8 is also very, very solid. Ooh, love to see a Rampant Growth this card. Especially if we can break that plume, that means that 1 less that we're basically going to have to worry about the entire game. Alright, notably we have another Frozen to Death for pitching. So I guess the question here is, how much do we want to pay into this, if at all? Probably want to pay at least 1, right? Go ahead and pay 1, pitching Frozen. They're probably not going to be able to keep the tree around. And then we can just CYB off after this. Wait, Mind Warp is pretty good. So what do we want to do against Mind Warp? You can also just like CYB in response and then pay 2 into it as well. And then they get rid of our hand, but it's like kind of fine. Alright, so we'll go ahead and pay 2 here. Pitch and Crumble, shuffle back the Felling. The Mind Warp definitely does mess with our pitch stack quite a bit, because they shuffle everything together, but it's still kind of fine. I don't think our pitch stack was really a ton to write home about. I think we maybe had like the Oaken Old and the Remembrance or something, but like this is still probably fine. So here, what we can do is we can like buy back Crumble, Oaken Old plus CNC, and that should set us up for the late game pretty good if we want to do that. I think I will go ahead and just pay into this. Might as well. We'll see what they got going on. They haven't really been sending a ton of Verdance pings at us for what it's worth. Feels like they're not gaining a ton of life. Alright, this will be like the first Verdance ping, I think, in a very long time. This might even be the first one of the game. I don't recall them having gained life before this. So I'm definitely fine to just kind of preserve deck size a little bit here. Alright, seems like they're just going to pass back. Question is, what do we want to do here? Kind of like buying a little bit of tempo with this Winter Bite. I don't like using a ton of Winter's Bite in this matchup just because I think that they're really good in the late game for putting them off like the Rampant Growth stuff. But I think 1 here is fine. So we'll try to be mindful to not like use them all up, but I think 1 here just to buy a little bit of breathing room is probably reasonable. Then we just Arsenal the Oaken Old and try to resolve it next turn. I think is the plan. Then we can use this remembrance to buy back. I think our buybacks are going to be like Oaken Old, Crumble, and CNC because we don't really have a pitch stack at this point. So I think the remembrance is kind of fine here, and I think we'll go ahead and just do that now. I was also debating Sledge just to like keep up on fatigue, but like I think we're almost kind of winning on fatigue at this point. Like they definitely have a ton of cards left, but we'll go ahead and buy back Oaken Old, Crumble, and then I think CNC is like these are like the best three that we can get at this point, and then we'll go ahead and just arsenal the Oaken Old here. All right, unfortunately, we do not have the Oaken Old yet. We could tear asunder a hammer, depending on what they do. It's tempting. We could also resolve our first CLF, which I'm not like. I do really like saving this for the late game, just so that you're able to do some fun stuff with basically healing potions. They can't crack them all in the same turn without being super like resource inefficient. Also, I've been gifted a cat. Hello, cat. We haven't been doing the cat cam as much just because they don't like being up there, and I'm not gonna force them to be up there, but when they make their appearance, they're always very welcome. I'd love to see a double pitch Surgeon, if that's what they're going for. So I think, based on our hand, I kind of want to maybe get a little bit greedy and go for the Terrace Under Sledge. It's definitely pretty greedy, but I think it might be worth it. So we'll go ahead and pay 0 here and see what they got. If they have Mind Warp or something, we can always pay into it. Like, we're still at 40, so we're fine. I do kind of care about Destructive now. So I guess we will now pay into this. We'll go ahead and pay, we'll go ahead and pay 1 here, I think. Pay 1 just so we don't lose our Oaken Old in Arsenal. And this is, if it deals more than 1 damage, right? So we'll go ahead and CYB first, I guess. It doesn't really matter. And then we'll pay 1 to the Aether Tide so we don't lose our Oaken Old. And I think our play next turn is just, I want to keep the seal off in the deck, I think. Just because it's very, very strong. Especially just later on. So I think we're just going to Heart of Ice and Sledge this turn. Take a little bit of an off turn, but like they can't really react to this without being super inefficient. So I think like the Sledge damage here I think is like pretty reasonable. We're definitely getting a little bit close to kill range. They need like 1 more potion, I think they're there. But like they're almost there. Not on 4-card hand, but maybe if they keep a 5-card hand, they can kind of get there. Definitely depends a lot on, I guess, like what they got. I think we saw a Rampant Growth like pitched fairly early on, so I don't know if we're coming back around to that, but it'll probably be pretty soon. Yeah, I need to maybe pay a little bit more attention to their Rampant Growths. I did see 1 pretty early, but this will force them at least to pay an additional card if they want to use the Sink Below here. So pretty happy with this. All right, go ahead and pass back here. It seems like they also got a Mental Block. Seems pretty good. So they basically used a yellow there to develop out 2 block cards. I'm kind of okay with that. So unfortunately, we still can't line up the Oaken Old here. But we can just send a Mangle if we want. We can just Heart of Ice plus Mangle, which they also are kind of like forced to block because they don't want their Plume to go. So I think I'm kind of okay with that. Unfortunately, we can't dominate it or anything, but I think this is still like pretty reasonable. And the Heart of Ice is also making it pretty hard for them to like react to this. So they have to give us like real blocking cards instead of like de-reacts if they want to be efficient. All right, I'm happy with 3 block on this. All right, let's see what their turn is. Still no Oaken Old, unfortunately, but sometimes that is what it is. We could go for a Sink if we wanted to get greedy, or we could throw like the Crown in front of it. We haven't seen any CNCs out of them, but they might not even be running it. Could also go for the Frozen to Death and just get this out of the way now. So if we get rid of the Oaken Old, it's awkward. There's a lot of awkward things here, because if we Crown here and then we fit like if we bottom the Oaken Old here and then we try to resolve Frozen, it gets really awkward. So maybe we're supposed to, I don't know. Let's get rid of imposing, I guess, and maybe just throw armor in front of it. And if we draw an Earth card, we're super happy. If we don't draw an Earth card, then we can just like reset up the Oaken Old, which is maybe fine. So let's give our last armor here because I don't think they're running a ton of disruption. So I might as well just like cash it in now while they are still like sending cards at us. And I think we'll fish the other Oaken Old out of Arsenal, and then maybe just develop out like CLF plus Hammer depending on what we draw. All right, we are able to resolve an Oaken Old, which is really nice. I think I'm gonna try to Arsenal or keep like hold on to the Froze to Death here, but definitely happy to see this. And we're holding on to both of them, obviously, but I kind of want to maybe resolve Frozen at some point just to eliminate Plume as a potential win con. But we're keeping pretty good tempo here. We got a definitely pretty big life lead. Obviously, with Verdance, that kind of can get messed with as they, gain life and stuff. But I think we're doing a pretty good job here. All right, Sigil here, and then maybe we're getting rid of the last two cards. Definitely pretty happy to see that. All right, Arsenal Felling or Arsenal Frozen? I guess I'll Arsenal Felling because this is a blue pitch, and if we draw all reds, then it's fine. So now the question is, do we want to blow up Plume now, or do we want to attempt to blow it up later? I feel like blowing up late, or I feel like blowing it up now is probably good. So in that case, what do? We can like Heart of Ice Arsenal to Frozen and just make it like super awkward for them to block this. I think that's kind of reasonable. We'll save our CNC, I think, for later, and then just Arsenal Frozen to Death so we have that set up. We want to basically line our disruption with like when they're trying to pop off. So Spanish the Rootbound, and then banish Buckle. Doesn't really matter. Put the CNC back in the deck, and then should be pretty fine here. Our Crumble and our Pulse are a little bit off of the Oaken Old that we tried to pitch deck earlier. I'm not really, I think, full on pitch stacking here. I'm more so like what I've kind of understood from like Jarl and Guardian players is that you kind of want to vibe pitch stack more than you want to like full on remember exactly where every card is. Like I'm kind of trying to remember the vibes. I think the vibes here are like a little bit off because I think we have like Oaken Old, then we had the Imposing Visage next to the Oaken Old, and then the Crumble and Eternity. There's a CNC in between that, and then the Crumble and Eternity. So I think our Oaken Old is like a little bit off the pitch stack, but it's definitely like still probably fine. We can probably line it up. All right, find another Oaken Old. Unfortunately, can't really resolve this one, but that's kind of fine. So they've developed out the Ring of the Roses, which is also Ring of Roses. I keep saying this like it's Lord of the Rings, but it's Ring of the Roses. Let's go ahead and Heart of Ice and then just develop out Frozen to Death. Make sure that their Plume is not an out for them anymore. And then we'll Arsenal our Oaken Old here. We also set them up with 2 Frostbites, which is really nice. This hand is kind of whatever, but decent hand for pitching into a Heartbeat at least. And if they're pitching a Healing Potion, I'm kind of happy with this because it means they're not really set up for like the Uber combo. All right, let's go ahead and I guess pitch like Terrace Under or whatever. Just keep the life total a little bit high here. And we'll see what they do with the remainder of their cards in hand. All right, seems like they're just pitching to an Autumn's Touch. Kind of want to maybe go for a pummel on a hammer here, so I'm not going to pay into this. If they have something, it's fine. Notably, I think Surgeon doesn't apply to the 1 damage ping here. I could also see it being incorrect to go for pummel. Like maybe we're supposed to keep the pummel in the deck. Because it's like not even that good against hammer. Yeah, I'm kind of starting to not like that play as much. Like maybe we honestly are supposed to just keep in the deck, like pitch Visage here. I think I'm slightly regretting not like blocking that out a little bit more, but I think this is still fine. Just set up our pitch stack. Again, they're definitely a little bit of a ways off from killing us, I think, especially when they've lost their like first rampant growth. It's basically not able to be gotten back at this point. So they have 2 rampant growths, they have 2 healing potions, so that's basically amp 6 on each, which is 12. 6 plus Surgeon is 13, or 12 plus 13. So if 13 on this, and they're basically off, I think, because they need like 13 plus like a pulsing or whatever, which is like 30 something. 30 something if they get to keep like all the cards basically. So I think this is still fine. All right, getting rid of their plume, their root bound, and that makes sense. All right, pretty good hand for Oaken Holding if we can get it off. Very excited about that. Go ahead and just pay one here just to kind of stave off some damage. All right, let's see what the follow-up is here. All right, heartbeat I am a-okay with. I think we're gonna like fully pay into this. Just because like if they deal a ping, they also like send a ping, so we're basically like AB2ing off this anyways. And then we can just go ahead and resolve an Oaken Old here. Do we have any seeds left in the deck? We have these 1 seeds here. We do have a seeds left in the deck, so Arsenal Crumble is like not that terrible. It's probably fine. It's obviously not great to play out a second one when we don't really care about this remaining armor situation. But this Oaken Old still should be pretty disruptive here. At least means they can't like pop off next turn. I don't know how close they are to popping off though. It's something I feel like I need to pay a little bit more attention to. All right, they're gonna opt to seeds this, but we still get to take the last card here, which is very good for us. All right, I think from this point on, disruption is kind of the name of the game. So I think we'll take an opportunity here to develop out our first CLF. We still have 2 left on deck, so we should be in pretty good shape. And then I think we might even like pay into Heart of Ice and just keep the Winter's Bite for later on, because that's also a very good threat in terms of like keeping them off stuff. So let's go ahead and pay, I think, into Heart of Ice and then just like double pitch to Sledge. Every react they have is now costing 2 extra, which is really nice for us, and they're also going to have to like fight through a seal. Like they basically can't pop off through CLF, which is really nice for us. And now they have to pay like 2 here, which is also like kind of terrible. Also kind of means we're safe, I think, from I think they have 1 more Plow Under, and also I think maybe 1 more Tree. Yeah, so we should be safe from both of those, honestly. Alright, they're gonna need to pitch to that mental block if they want to use it. I think. Yeah. So if we just get all the cards out of their hand, I'm also kind of fine with this. So we haven't really seen that rampant growth, but that's fine. Alright, happy to see Felling. A little bit unhappy to have this Crumble stuck in Arsenal, but that's still fine. And we also don't get to keep CLF around, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we do get to resolve a Felling here. Probably just going to hold on to the Seeds of Tomorrow, decompose, and get rid of the Rebound. So we'll get rid of Soul, we'll get rid of Fruits, and then we'll get rid of random card, get rid of Rebound. Pretty good spot here, and we're also now winning on deck size. So we are going like kind of shields down for a turn, but it's kind of fine because we're at least taking a card out of the hand. I feel like Verdance really needs a 5-card hand in order to really get the maximum damage out of her rampant growth, and they still don't have a potion up, so I think we're maybe in an okay spot here. Alright, seems like they're gonna block with Autumn's Touch. Sounds good to me. We'll go ahead and sandbag the seeds here. Alright, we find another Felling, which is very, very nice. Definitely looking to potentially use the Seeds of Tomorrow, depending on what they do. Alright, seems like a heartbeat turn. I think this is probably a decent enough opportunity as any to go ahead and just use the seeds up. Go ahead and just pay 0 here. Then our turn, we have the option to either Winter's Bite plus Felling, or we can just send Felling by itself, which is better. Maybe we will just go ahead and Winter's Bite for tempo. So this is the second Winter's Bite we've used, or no, this is the first Winter's Bite we used and the first CLV we've used. So we have still 4 left of each, so we should be still pretty good on disruption. So I think it's fine to go for a little bit of tempo here. Also, just want to keep our life total high while we're kind of disrupting them. Yeah, we'll go ahead and play Felling as well. It's definitely a little bit awkward to like overlap these disruptive effects, but like the alternative is like playing Heart of Ice and then Felling, which I'm not crazy about. I don't know. Feels like it's definitely close. All right, mental block is a-okay. Go ahead and just use up the remainder of our cards here. And so I think that's our last Felling. We have one more Oaken Old left in the deck, and I think we still have. Did we already Remembrance? I think we already Remembrance, didn't we? So we only have one Oaken Old left. We have, I think, two CNCs left. Definitely maybe a concern about losing threats, but I think it's probably fine. All right, so I think our plan for this turn is we're not going to get greedy here. I think we're going to play Channel Mount Eisen, pitch to Heart of Ice, and then send CNC just so they can't combo off here because they're getting very close to this, and I want to have the seal off in Arsenal for later. Let's go ahead and play this on the head, and then we'll go ahead and activate Heart of Ice, and then we'll send CNC here. So this could be pretty rough for them depending on what their hand is. Hoping that at least gets 2 cards out of them. If we get obviously a Rampant Growth out of Arsenal, it's probably game winning. And then we just get to sit on the CLF in Arsenal, which is really nice. Like, I don't think they can really combo off through a CNC here. Is what it feels like from their end, I feel like. All right, so that's last Plow Under. That's good. Last Mind Warp, I think, also. Let me confirm the last Mind Warp. Yeah, it seems like last Mind Warp as well. Go ahead and keep Eisen around, ping them for 1, which is whatever. We do find our other Oaken Old, which is also really nice. All right, so go ahead and pay 0 here. I think we maybe want to just try to resolve Oaken Old depending on what they do, so we'll go ahead and take a little bit of damage here. I think the name of the game from here on is kind of Disruption. Okay, seems like they're going to go for the Eighth of Tide here. That's a-okay, I think. So let's go ahead and pitch here. Let's pitch, I guess, like Imposing, I think. Actually, hold on, sorry. We might want to only pitch 1 here just so that we can, like, do CLF plus Sledge. All right, so let's go ahead and pitch 1 here, pitch the Rootbound. I think our plan is to just develop out the CLF, let the Eisen go, and then send Sledge at them. Because again, it's impossible for them to basically combo out through CLF. Then we get this nice little Oaken Old in Arsenal, which could disrupt them pretty heavily as well next turn. Like, I think things are lining up pretty good for us. So this I think is the Oaken Old. I don't know if we shuffled up until this point. So from what I remember of our pitch stack, I think it's Oaken Old, Imposing Visage. Then we have like a CNC, and then we have 2 Ice Earth cards from what I remember. All right, seems like they did have the Rampant Growth here. So that was from hand, that was from Arsenal. So this Rampant Growth will now be coming around in 3 turns. All right, so we'll let the Eisen go, put that card under. All right, yeah, so what happened to the Imposing Visage? I could have sworn there was Imposing Visage, then Command. Oh, wait, did we draw the Imposing Visage? I can't remember. That's fine. A little bit of a goldfish moment here, but that's okay. Kind of what I'm used to. All right, so Verdance ping. Yeah, we can go ahead and pay 1 of that. I think that's fine. All right, and now we have the option to keep CLF around a 2nd turn. Is that greedy? So you pitch to Heart of Ice and then send Mangle. It's a little greedy, but also it's probably fine. Because like they are gonna run out of stuff eventually. We're still just sitting on the Oaken Old Arsenal, so if we can resolve that or we can resolve any other piece of disruption, we should be in pretty good shape. I think there's definitely an argument to maybe not doing this, but I do like spacing out the disruption here just so that we're always presenting disruption at this point in the game. Because eventually they're going to basically run out of cards. So we have a Rampant Growth at the bottom of the deck. We're drawing another set of cards next turn. So I think they were at 13 cards before, they're 11 now. They haven't pitched anything yet. So this still at the bottom here, I think, and they can't play out the healing potion. All right, so I think their rampant growths are coming up in exactly 3 turns. So the 3 cards on the bottom of the deck are healing potion, rampant growth, which means they draw that in 2 turns. All right, unfortunately, we can't really do a ton with this hand other than, I guess, like, just Terra Sunder, but Terra Sunder is, like, also really good. So I think that's actually going to be the play. We don't need Oaken Old this turn, and we don't probably need to keep CLF around either. It's probably fine to just, like, go for a Hard Device instead of really annoying Terra Sunder. Especially when they don't have an arsenal. Like, this is probably going to be pretty rough for them. And, like, I don't... Like, sometimes this matchup does feel pretty bad, but I feel like once you get the hang of it, like, what you're supposed to be doing, like, basically pitch stacking your disruption for later in the game, it feels like the matchup gets a lot better for you. You're basically... Your game plan is not to, like, gain so much life that you're not dying to combo. Your game plan is basically to disrupt them every turn so that they cannot combo off, and they basically just run out of cards. Alright, get the Terra Sunder here, so let's see what they discard. Alright, discard a Seeds. And what will be the follow-up card? And a Fruits. Alright, sounds good. So maybe a card they want to keep there. We'll see. Ooh, and this is going to be disgusting. We got the nice little Pummel Oaken Old here. Love to see it. That's why Pummel's in the deck, of course. So why not even just throw a Heart Device on front of it too? Might as well, right? We have 1 extra resource. Alright, here comes Disgusting Old Oaken Old with a nice Pummel to follow it up. Just a casual, you know, functionally discard 3 cards. So I think next hand is their Rampant Growth hand. But we should still probably be fine. Like, we might even just kill them at this point, because now they're, like, basically within the range of, like, Sludge. They're losing all their cards, they're at 2 life, so now they basically have to block Sludge every turn, which means that, like, they're also not winning from that point. Curious why they didn't discard Fruits there, but it's kind of interesting. And yeah, I think from this position, they basically cannot win. Because it's Rampant Growth, Healing Pot, Rampant Growth, other cards in hand. I just don't see that happening for them. It seems like they're maybe just going to gain some life to stay alive, which is kind of a little bit of a futile endeavor, but we will entertain that, I guess. Go ahead and just pay into it so they're not getting a ring trigger. And now that they don't have healing potions, this game, I think, is very much over. All right, we'll go ahead and Winner's Bite here just for good measure, but I don't see them being able to kill us without healing potions at this point. Go ahead and pitch a Rampant Growth, which I think they have another Rampant and then a healing potion in hand. They might not have the second Rampant, though. The second Rampant actually might be on top of the deck. Maybe. It's hard to keep track of 2 different pitch stacks, especially when my memory is, like, very, very bad. Right, there's Scar for Scar, so just staying alive here makes sense. And then, nice little hand for us here. Should be pretty hard to, like, send anything meaningful through this Frostbite, so I think we got this game unlocked from here. What's in our arsenal? Crumble? Yeah, it's probably... I mean, we can't lose this game, right? So we might as well just, like, pay 0, let them have a little bit of life. Like, we're not going to lose this game with them having, like, 5 cards in deck. Even if they have, like, a Pulsing or whatever here. It's, like, kind of fine. We can just Terra Sunder them again. Try to end the game as soon as possible. Alright, go ahead and activate good old Heart Device for good measure. Heart Device is also, like, just a super brutal card in this matchup, it feels like. I'm a very big fan of this card in this matchup. And then this should basically kill them unless they have React, but if they have React, like, it's probably fine. Alright, and yeah, seems like that. So they had the Rampant Growth, I think, maybe on top. Depends where they were. And then, yeah, they basically just ran out of cards. So yeah, that's kind of like the Verdance matchup. I've actually kind of gotten, like, a decent amount of practice in the matchup, and I feel like it's actually maybe Jarl favored at this point if you know how to board for it. I think the way I was boarding before was, like, not correct, and the way I was, like, playing was not correct, where I was basically just trying to, like, I was basically just trying to like raw fatigue, which is not what you want to do. Because if you give them too much time and space, you're basically they're gonna kill you basically no matter what. So what I would suggest in this matchup for like Jarl players is you basically want to like stack your disruption and have your deck be very disruption dense in the late game while also just trying to buy time in the early game. I think is kind of like the key strat. So yeah, I hope that was an entertaining game for y'all. So thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.